Shalom and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. We're looking today at Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 8. And in chapter 10, Jeremiah has been really railing against those who have constructed idols and the folly of building and making idols and worshiping them. In verses 6 and 7, Jeremiah was actually turning his attention to talk to God. But in verse 8, he's going to go back and pick up the same theme that we left off in verse 5 about the foolishness of idol making and idol worship. Let's read the text in Hebrew as we get started. Uv achat yiv'aru vayiksalu musar havalim etzhu. So we start with just a conjunction vav, and it has this shurek form, remember, because it's followed by a beit, and also happens to have a schwa. So it's a regular phenomenon that we see, taking this shurek vowel instead. So, and literally what we have is in one. Now this is the feminine form of the word echad, which you know, for instance, from the great Shema in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Echad, this is the feminine form. And in one. Now, it's hard to know what is the exact meaning of this. This may mean, especially since it's a feminine, and the feminine forms tend to pick up more of abstract ideas. This may be the idea of and in altogether one, or something like that. Completely, or and in at the same time. It's this idea of wholeness here. Let's just translate it and keep on going. And in one, yiv'aru. Well, what do we have here? Well, it's going to be an imperfect with the yod at the beginning and u at the end. So it's going to be an imperfect. It's going to be a third masculine plural. This is a cow. Now you look at these three consonants, and you know there is a root with these same consonants, which means to burn. But this is not that root in the context of what we're looking at here, because this is from a homonym using the exact same consonants, but this means to be brutish or stupid. So we would say they will be, or probably in the present sense, ongoing sense here with the imperfect, they are brutish. And just a regular conjunction here. And then once again, imperfect 3MP. It's a kal again. This time it's from the root kasal, which means to be stupid, to be foolish. You probably are not familiar with this as a verb, because this is the only time we actually find this verb conjugated in the Old Testament, in our text. But you're familiar with a noun, especially if you've done much work in the book of Proverbs, kasil, like that, and kasil is a word which means the fool, and he shows up quite a bit, for instance, in the book of Proverbs and some other places as well. So this is the verbal root from which the noun fool is drawn. So you can pick up this foolishness idea. So altogether, they are brutish and they are stupid or foolish. And then musar is a word which means discipline. It can be used in a very good sense, the instruction, the discipline of the Lord, that which the Lord teaches to his people. Here it's in the construct state with havalim. And hevel, we've seen this word before in Jeremiah, in this chapter even, but also especially in the book of Ecclesiastes. This is the main word, vanity of vanities, and here we have the plural of hevel. So we have discipline of vanities, discipline of breaths, and then etzhu, wood, it is. This is just a 3ms pronoun, so it is wood. This is almost functioning like the verb to be. So wood it is. So, well, okay, we've got all the words here, but what's the sense of this? Discipline of vanities, or perhaps the instruction, the exhortation, the correction of vanities. In other words, it's sort of useless, whatever instruction you're going to get from these idols, because that's what we're talking about here. And it is wood. Okay, I think we've got the general idea here. Let's we can leave our work there. Let's go ahead and look at some translations. I'm going to give you 4 today because they're fairly short, and there's a lot of variety in the translations, although they all have the same idea. The New American Bible, Catholic Bible, the Revised Edition, one and all, so that's how they pick up this and in one. So one and all, they are stupid and senseless, brutish and foolish. Okay. The instruction from non-entities, discipline of vanities, wood it is, only wood. So here they're taking the instruction is basically being equated with it's only wood, or is it meant to say the idols are only wood? Could be. Let's look at another one. New Jerusalem Bible. All of them, pretty simple for that one up there, are brutish and stupid. The futile ones teaching of vanities. So vanities they translate as futile ones. That's interesting. The futile ones teaching is but wood. So they're taking the discipline of vanities. Here's your sort of the verbal idea. Wood it is. Once again, the teaching is being referred to as wood. The Tanakh, Jewish Publication Society, 1985. But they are both dull and foolish. Good translation up there. Their doctrine, discipline of vanities. Their doctrine is but delusion. That's not a bad translation for Hevelim. The breath, the vapor, it just disappears. It is a piece of wood, once again referring to their teaching. And then in the New American Standard Bible, we expect it to be very literal. And here they actually develop it a little bit more. But they are altogether stupid and foolish. Just combining this in one main idea. It is so stupid and so foolish. In their discipline of delusions, they've sort of added this in their idea. It's in italics in the text. I put it in brackets here. Their idol is wood. So they're referring the wood thing back to the idol, whereas the others tend to refer the wood reference back to the teaching itself. But it's almost as though you can come to the end of this and say they're altogether foolish and stupid, or brutish and foolish. Discipline of the teaching of these vanities. It's like, hey, it's only wood, so stop and realize that. So a lot of different ways that the translators have worked with it, but the main idea comes across. How stupid it is to turn to these inanimate things for teaching and instruction rather than looking to the one and only living God. And that's the theme that Jeremiah is going to continue to develop over the next few verses. So check back with us as we continue working through this great text of Jeremiah 10 in the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.